little backstory, or not with me, but in the NHL. Sorry. But just to get things started here, I just kind of wanted to welcome all of you. But Stefan, did you want to say anything before we get started here?
Happy to be here, guys. Thanks.
Happy to be here. Awesome. And then talk a little bit about your junior career and then on to your pro days. And then we'll take some questions at the end. So I got the chat room open right now and looking for questions from you guys. Sorry about the dogs. And where you played and just kind of who you played for and what it was like.
Yeah, well, a lot of people, when the Texas Tornadoes first kind of came into the picture, they were over in North Richland Hills, right? So it was it was a pretty far drive from Plano, so we had to make the trek there to do practices and all of that. And I think it was like 10 or 9 or something like that, and one of those guys. It was good. But I was also 12, and I don't remember how to do that then.
I beat you up.
You can say that.
I'm just kidding. Well, you also touched on it a little bit, too. You played for Carson Cable. Carson's obviously one of the biggest coaches in DFW hockey and also in our organization with the Tigers and also at the Elite.
So I haven't really been around much, so I don't know how he is now, but I'm assuming he's the exact same now as he was then.
I would say so. He's pretty similar. Well, awesome. So is there anyone that you played with growing up that's kind of playing at your level now or anything like that? Like, I know you played with Blake Collin. I don't know if you played with Blake Collin, but you played with him on the Devils. Mm-hmm. And then did you play with him at all growing up?
I did, yeah. So I played DJHA a long time ago. I was 2 years up. Played with them. I played for the Alliance Bulldogs for a year as well. And then that was one of the years I got kicked off that team and made my way over to, I think it was the Junior Tornadoes.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, because I was the young guy that was playing hockey over other people, but kind of what it was. I played with Seth Jones. I didn't play with Seth Jones, but he played in the same organization as us. And then, let's see, who else did I play with? I played with Collin Jacobs, who I don't know where he is now. I think he's in the East Coast League maybe. And I think Kason Holman's over in Slovakia right now. And he was awesome. He was my centerman growing up forever.
I remember Kason. Kason did that, what's the move called? The cross hands? Or the Michigan, is that right?
I did that.
You did that? Oh,
no,
man.
Come
on.
He passed me. There's still video of it.
There was one of you that did. I remember. I was like, oh, man.
Yeah, it wasn't him.
Trevor's kid just did that. I think he did it like twice this year.
Nice.
Crazy. Well, today's focus in like youth hockey is really on like development and skill development and like the USA Hockey ADM module where there's a bunch of stations and things. Like, did you do a bunch of that growing up, or like what would you say is like one of the biggest things that helped you propel you to where you are now from youth hockey?
Well, I mean, growing up, you know, Carson ran a pretty, I mean, at least in the local area here, like Carson ran a pretty tight ship. Like, Tuesdays were power skating, Thursdays were skills, and we played games on the weekend. If we didn't, we had a game on Saturday, which was more like skill development, and he really pushed us. And we did dry line training all the time as well. And so like the skill days were, they were pretty intense. It was 2 hours on the ice, and the power skating was even harder. But really focusing on your little skills here and there really helped you kind of propel yourself into what was to come, honestly, but I just didn't really realize it until it came.
Awesome. Cool. Well, I think another thing that kind of made you so successful getting to where you wanted to go was just all the time you spent away from the rink working on stuff. Like, so a big focus that we try to make with youth hockey players today is doing stuff at home and doing things on their own. Like, how much time did you spend in your driveway shooting pucks or rollerblading or things like that? Like, and how would you encourage kids to keep doing that or playing other sports, things like that?
Yeah, so I played roller hockey all the time. So whether it was here, whether it was actual roller hockey for tournaments and games, and when hockey season wasn't really there, I was going to summer hockey tournaments in Canada, Michigan, all that. I was going to roller hockey tournaments here in Tyler, I think it was, is where that rink is. And then I went through. We had to replace our drywall in our garage probably 6 or 7 times. And there was pucks throughout the whole entire thing too. But it was, working on the shot, it definitely helps, and probably need to do a little bit more of that now. But hard to do it right now in the situation.
And then another thing that's kind of off ice focused. How many times do you think you lost to me playing floor hockey or mini hockey?
Probably quite a few, but then I wound up fighting you afterwards. So it wound up bouncing itself out.
I think you just had trouble scoring against a big body like me.
Back then you weren't fat.
Come on. It's a dad bod now.
It's okay. You're going to be a dad, so it makes sense.
I know floor hockey is a big thing right now, especially now that we can't be at the rink. But kind of moving from youth hockey to the next kind of phase of your career, I think it was 8th grade. So we met in 6th grade. We played against each other before that, but then we went to school together. And then you kind of moved away, and then I stayed locally, and then you kind of took off from there. Explain, kind of what the process was of moving away from Texas, and then why you kind of did that, and what it kind of opened up for you.
Yeah, so it was after that U12 tournament that we beat Detroit Compuer, the number 1 team in USA technically. They had won Quebec that year, and I happened to play with a few of those guys in summer hockey, and they kind of wanted. We were kind of jokingly, kind of messing around about me going up there to play with those guys, and they thought it'd be fun. And I was like, yeah, it'd be good, but obviously it won't happen. There's no way to make it happen. And then another year went by, played with the Texas Attack for that 1 year, and then went to another summer hockey tournament, and we actually went to the Plymouth, Detroit area and played in the tournament there. And they were very adamant on me actually coming up there, so we stopped by Mike Ferrantino's house, somebody that played Michigan State. He was a captain on that team for, I think it was 2 years. Stopped by there, and the house itself was just awesome, but the people there were just way better. And they convinced me to come, so I kind of just told my parents, hey, this is what I need to do in order to go. And then I was kind of deciding between doing the baseball route or doing the hockey route, and decided hockey was the way to go. And we said screw it, and we moved up to Michigan and kind of went on that path.
So that obviously played out pretty nicely for you.
You couldn't have drawn it up much better. Yeah.
And so that kind of gets us into your junior hockey career. You went and played in the OHL, I think it was, for the Plymouth Whalers. And I think we had Crew Hannes on here last week kind of talk about his junior hockey experience in the WHL. What was that experience like playing in the OHL? And are there any cool players that you played against or with or anything like that?
Yeah, OHL was fun for me. My first year was very difficult, and then after that it was a lot more fun. First year we had a very good team. Tyler Sagan was on that team. We were pretty deep overall, to where a 16-year-old playing was not really. We had one person, but we didn't have too many that were on that roster. And it was very difficult. It was I wasn't playing many games. I only played 30 games. I only had 8 points. Wasn't able to really produce. And then that next year, it was kind of when everything kind of took off for me, and I started playing a lot more. Our coach Mike Vellucci started being able to trust me a lot more and put me in spots, and things started clicking. I think I wound up scoring 30 goals that season. Got drafted there. And I became really close with a couple guys on that team that were able to get drafted pretty high as well. And I've played with a lot of good players that are doing pretty good things in the NHL right now.
That's awesome. Who was you played with Vincent Trocek, right?
Yeah, for half the season.
How is he?
Good. He's a good dude. Really good dude. That was the year that he won the scoring title, which was really cool. He had to get one more point with the. He had to get, I think, 3 or 4 points the last game to win, and we
got it.
We got it done with like a minute left.
Oh,
we were up
man.
like 7. We were up like 7-1, I think it was, and we put our top power play unit out there just to get him one last point to win it.
Oh wow!
And he made a pass, and one of the guys scored, and no one even went over to the guy that scored. We all just like bombarded him.
That's
Because it
awesome.
was like a really cool thing for someone to win it. Yeah.
That's awesome. And so you spent a couple years with the Whalers, and then you got drafted. What could you tell us, like when you got drafted, and to who, and what that whole situation was like? That must have been pretty surreal and pretty crazy.
Yeah, well, they had some suspicion that I was going to go relatively high, but I didn't think I was going to wind up going as soon as I did, which was it was first round, so it was nice, but I kind of was more expecting like the second round, and just to be able to get drafted was just such a cool thing, and being at the draft and all that. And then I got a text, if I was going to go in that, that first round, it was like the high teens to the low 20s was kind of the target range. The teams I talked to the most, teams that I got, probably the best, how would you say
Exposure?
that? I don't know. We just gelled well, I guess. I don't know. And thought it would be a good fit overall. And so I got a text after 18, 19, 20 happened, and I got a text right after the 20th pick happened, and they were like, "You're going here." So I was like, "That's pretty cool." And wound up getting picked and selected, and yeah, it was overall it was cool. I was drafted by Ottawa Senators, which was a good organization. We had three first rounders that year. Mika Zibanejad, myself, and Matt Pumple. Mika's doing pretty well for himself right now.
Yeah, I was about to say Mika's playing for the Rangers now.
Yeah, he's doing pretty well for himself, and me and Pumps have both been finding our way, into the NHL rosters for the past few years.
Awesome. Well, that kind of takes us, to your pro days. And before we get into that, I guess one of the biggest things that we see a lot in youth hockey is just the amount of adversity that a lot of kids have to go through to not just play hockey, but be successful at it and get the appropriate ice time they need, or injuries they go through, and just different situations. And you've obviously had, a fair share of adversity. How did you get through all those setbacks? And I guess for more information, you kind of had 2 pretty serious injuries in back-to-back years, right? You, I think, tore your Achilles, and then you tore your ACL or something like that. And anyway, that's just a lot of adversity. How did you get through all that, and what motivated you to come back and just sticking with it?
My first 2 years pro were pretty hard for me. I wound up blowing up my ACL within the first couple games, which was pretty hard. The season was pretty much done. I wound up coming back and being able to play 4 games in playoffs, which is really cool. And then my second year, I got my Achilles sliced by a skate, which I was really hoping I was going to go into that year. I played three games. That 4th game is when it happened, and I was feeling really good. I thought the injury bug was behind me. I wasn't going to have to really worry too much about all that. And then that happened, and it was pretty devastating that time. But I worked hard, and I made myself come back from that in about 4 months. Got 20-something games in. Got my first call up in the NHL. Which was pretty cool. I think you were actually at that game, which was really, really cool as well.
That was probably the best part about it, right? Seeing me up there.
Yeah, the game had nothing to do with it. It was just you, and even my wife now, she was there. But, no, it wasn't her. It was all
the support,
you guys.
yeah.
It was just the support for me. I think your brother and your dad were there too,
Yeah, my brother
right?
and my dad came up there.
That was really cool. So I got that done. That was fun. And then, the next year, we actually wound up moving to San Diego after that. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah. San Diego. That must have been a nice place to play professional hockey, right?
Yeah, it was pretty good.
Yeah. And so then you went to the Devils, and then you kind of bounced around a little bit. Now you're with the Sharks. What's it like just playing in the NHL? I mean, that's got to be kind of like you dream about that as a kid, right? Did you ever think you would actually get there? And then once you got there, what was it like? Was it everything you kind of thought it would be, or is it? I'm sure it was much harder.
Yeah, well, I mean,
It was probably harder than playing against me.
no,
You hear it? I was tough to play against.
No, it was awesome. You know, getting that chance to go up there. You know, you got to show your skills and stuff against the best players in the world, and it was definitely a kind of a surreal experience first few times, and then as you kind of get used, I wouldn't say get used to it, but as you kind of get settled into it, you kind of realize that you can actually play at that level, and you're not nervous, not gripping your stick as tight. Then you start playing your own game, and wound up getting overall pretty good. I don't know. I kind of got into my groove a little bit and felt good, and then then the injury bug happens again, and then you kind of go back to square one.
Yeah. What was the coolest moment so far that you've had as a NHL player? I can think of one, and I can tell you as your friend, it was pretty cool watching it. And that was the goal you scored, I think, against Tampa Bay in the playoffs. I think it was the first time you had been in the playoffs, and then you guys were down a game or two, and then you had a one-timer. What was that like?
Yeah, so that I would say that whole experience leading up to the playoffs was just so cool because, fans are into it, the crowd's into it. You got to see exactly how, true the fans really were, and every game mattered. So it was, I think we had to win out of our last 20 games. We had to win I think you had to get 16 wins or 16 games. We had to get points out of to even make it to the playoffs. It's kind of all based on the projections. And from those 20 games left, as a group, we came together. We found ways to win games. Playing against, I think we found out we had the hardest schedule with teams that were in playoffs or battling for playoffs, remaining to even try to get in. So that was really cool to how we gelled together and found a way to come back and make playoffs. And our line was part of that. It was I wouldn't say the main part, but it was a big part on us being able to. We were our shutdown line, so we were going against the top lines, and it was me, Travis, Zajac, and Blake Coleman, and we just were so good together. And I was unfortunate we couldn't have found the chemistry again after that, but before leading up to that goal, that whole entire 20 games was just so much fun. And then it sucks we lost in 5 games, but scoring that goal was just the amount of love, the support, how big the name kind of got, honestly, just for one goal. It was just a goal. It wasn't. I mean, it was huge for the state of New Jersey. It was huge for myself, and I was hoping to build off it. Yeah.
So one of my favorite things about you right now is just your energy that you play with, and after every goal you score or big hit you have this screaming thing that you do. I think there's a YouTube video called Stefan screaming, where you're just like, wow! What's that like? Is that just all your passion and emotion coming out when you score? Or?
Yeah, and it also depends on the goal, honestly. So some goals are bigger than others, and some can turn the game a different way. Some can extend leads, and I think you see based off of my reaction the meaning of each goal. And I don't do it every single time, but for the most part, I like to consider myself a relatively clutch player. So I don't score too many goals, but the ones I do score usually are relatively meaningful, and so just the excitement in that itself is pretty good.
Cool. Well,
do you have the URL on there?
I think so. I think so.
If we have it, I'll redo it.
Well, a couple more questions, and then I will. I'll open it up for some questions here. But you're on the Sharks right now, and you're playing with a ton of guys that are out there, like Joe Thornton, Brent Burns. Logan Couture. Like, what's it like playing with those guys?
Jumbo's a beauty. That guy he's one of my favorite humans. He expects a lot out of everybody. He expects, is that how it works?
I think so.
We'll find out. He expects a lot out of everybody, and he expects you to, be your best and bring your best every single night. And that's what I think makes him special. Is he thinks the game in such a different way. He's kind of like how Michael Jordan was, right? Michael Jordan thought the game at such a different level and expected everybody to, rise up to his level. And Jumbo's just like that. He thinks the game at a crazy, crazy level to where you kind of sometimes want to be like, dude, like nobody sees that but you.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell do you want me to do, sort of thing. And it's just really cool to be able to kind of soak in. And I've only been with him for a couple months. In those couple months, he's intense, and he definitely expects a lot. And with Patty Marlowe, Patty's a legend, right? Like this guy's going to break the all-time record for games played this next season. So it's really a pretty sweet thing that to be able to play with those sort of guys. It's so cool.
All right, and then last question before we kind of open it up to everyone. Tell me about what prompted you to choose your goal song as, what is it, Hakuna Matata?
Hakuna Matata.
Hakuna Matata.
Hakuna Matata.
Why did you choose that as your goal song?
It doesn't work, FYI.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's the new link. So.
Just send it to me.
So yeah, tell us about the goal song.
Sorry. So it still didn't work, eh? Jesus. So we were in Colorado, and we got asked to pick up a goal song, and this doesn't work.
Okay.
So we got asked to pick a goal songs out. About a couple weeks before that, we were trying to figure out what we wanted to do, and I was with a few of the guys, and we were just kind of messing around and throwing out random ideas, and Timo Meyer was saying all this techno stuff, and for me, that's not really my thing, and but he loved it, so I was happy for him for that. And then Aaron Dell is our goalie, one of our goalies. He was asking if he should get a goal song, but we're like, I don't think you're ever going to score a goal. So like, you probably shouldn't. And then another one was, so I was thinking, back and forth between two different names or two different things, and I found one that I really liked, and I still can't remember what it was. And then I kind of was watching, like looking at memes or something like that, and I saw something that said like the Hakuna Matata or something along those lines. I can't remember. And I was just like, I think that's it. That's it. We should try it.
Did the fans like it?
Oh, they loved it. Well, the bad part is, so when we got back from break, they didn't have it queued up right away, and they couldn't tell who scored the first goal. So I came back from break. I deflected one in, and they couldn't. They didn't do it. And so then apparently all the fans were really mad that there was no goal song, like whenever I scored. And then Patty Marlowe scored the next one, and he didn't have a goal song picked out, but I did. So then they thought it was broken, and then he scored another one, and then I scored another one, and finally it went off. And then everyone was like, all right, this is awesome. So it was the first one that they ever heard. So I think it got a pretty good response overall, and yeah.
Awesome. All right, well, we're going to open it up to you YouTubers that are on the chat. Right now, they're kind of all over the place.
Oh, beautiful.
But I'll go with the first one from Mr. William Duba. He's asking, did you play multiple sports? And if you did, what were they and up to what age?
So my dad played college basketball, so I played basketball at an early age. Shout out Dad. Hey, how you doing?
I remember beating your dad in horse a couple times.
That's because he can't dunk, he can't jump. So I played basketball at an early age, which is fun. I enjoyed that, but I fouled out every game, so it really was
Typical.
kind of boring. I played that until 8th grade when I moved away. I played baseball. I was pretty decent at baseball. And yeah, shout out Mark Elfenbein, 1310 the ticket. I don't even know if he's still on that anymore. He was our baseball coach. And I played that until I was 14, until I moved away. I played soccer, but I played forward, scored a goal, and then I went and played goalie, and then I was bored, so I stopped playing that. I played football one season, and I hated it, so I never did it again.
Yeah, he was afraid to get hit.
No, I was a quarterback. It was boring. And then after that, I think that's about it. Just mainly baseball, hockey, and that. And I decided at 14 that when I moved away, I was done playing everything else and stuck with hockey.
So you're a pretty avid golfer now. Did you ever golf as a kid?
I did golf. I didn't golf a lot, but I did
Kind of
those.
hard to tell.
I did those Hank Haney golf lessons and stuff when I was a kid, and went over there with the one that was in McKinney, and did camps every summer. But now I love it. It's probably my favorite thing to do outside of hockey.
Outside of hockey.
Yeah.
Tim Sales asks, when you're not at the rink, or when he is not at the rink, what can he be doing at home to get better at hockey?
I would say mainly during the off season is when I focus on that, and if I'm not at the rink, I can shoot pucks and all that stuff. It's been hard for the past few years being able to do that, but I usually go to the gym and train there. And during the season, you kind of just want to rest your body because we play 82 games, so it's pretty hard on your body. You need the time to recover, and understanding what you need day in and day out for your body to maintain your physical fitness is a big thing. What we do now, how much food to eat, how much coffee to drink, protein, all that is pretty valuable.
Bad Ace Titans Gaming Channel asks, it's a killer username, asks, did you ever play against Connor McDavid in the OHL?
I did, yeah. He was 16. He was a double underager, so he was 15 and 16 a few years I played with him, and he was a really good player then. Our teams, he didn't have too much around him. He only had a couple players around him, so it only made him, he was very, very good, but definitely not the player that he is now.
So comparing like Connor McDavid to probably when you played against me, what was harder for you?
You were bigger.
Yeah, so
wider. And he's a little more skinny.
Those are my football legs.
Oh, is that what that was?
Yeah.
We were like 12.
Yeah. Okay. Next question. NHL 0024 asks, "What is your favorite player?" I guess growing up, who was your favorite player? Because you're probably your favorite player now, right?
No.
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 Well, who was your favorite player growing up?
Mike Modano was definitely my favorite player growing up, especially being from here. Probably anybody at my age could probably answer the same way, in some way, shape, or form. Kind of grew the game itself down here, and I kind of modeled my game a little bit after Brendan Morrow, though, so that was kind of he's probably another one.
All right. Well, this is a good question. Sydney Merritt asks, do you have any ways to help deal with outside stress and focusing on your game?
Oh, good question. Not really. I'm really bad at it, honestly. It's hard. I don't really do much. If I'm stressed at the rink, I'm usually pretty stressed at home, and sometimes you just got to get away and try to clear your head as much as you can. And sometimes dinner at night, or having a drink at dinner kind of helps, at least for me. I'm sure everybody has the same answer. It's no different for people at home than it is for us.
Sydney also asks,
Hi, Sydney.
do you have a favorite shootout move?
Slap shot.
Slap shot. Why? How did you get to that?
This year in the minors, I went 4 for 4 this year, and I just came down and left the
4
wing.
for 4.
Came down the wing and just slap shot high glove, and you'd think people would figure it out, but if they started figuring that out, I'd just go 5-hole.
Great. Now we're gonna have a shootout at our skills sessions, and we're gonna have all these kids taking slap shots.
Don't be a goalie if you don't want to get the pucks at you.
Logan Crockett wants to know.
Hi, Logan.
Hi, Logan. If you could go back in time and give your 9-year-old self some advice, what would it be?
My 9-year-old self.
Do you remember when you were 9?
I honestly don't.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah, I don't know if I can say that. I don't know. I got pretty angry when I was a kid. I don't know if it helped me or if it hurt me, but maybe be a little less of a hothead. But again, I think it kind of helped me out as well, and Carson could probably attest to that one.
That's a question we'll have to ask Carson.
Yeah.
Drone of Saginaw asks, do rookies still get the shave? I don't know what that means.
No.
Buzz your head?
No. It's
Okay.
probably not just your head. I'm guessing it's head to toe is what he's referring to, and the answer is no.
Gotcha. All right. Kieran Wilmot asks, what are you doing to stay in shape during the pandemic, and how do you substitute ice time?
Can't. Ice is something you can't really mimic. Pretty hard to say, but it's I've been doing Peloton rides. I go for runs. I rollerblade around. I got a buddy who's got a home gym that I try to go to at least once or twice a week if I can, and just to move some weights around a little bit. But yeah, it's very hard to try to stay in shape. And talking to some guys around the league, they're having the same issues unless they've got a full gym at their house, which some guys do, which is good for them. But I've got a couple bikes here. I've got a Versa Climber here that I can use. That we're just going to start getting back into the swing of things soon.
This is a good one. Carson Frisky, one of our players, asked, does Joe Thornton store anything in his beard?
It's not like Family Guy where he's got the bird in there. But it's getting a little grayer nowadays. I don't know if anybody saw a picture of him on our Twitter or Instagram, but it's getting a little long.
Little long.
And gray. He's old.
Okay, well, let me just...
But he's young at heart, I will say. The guy acts like he's 12.
Courtney Fields asked, do you play against Marc-Andre Fleury? And how is that? Is he a goal? Is he a good goalie? Have you scored on him yet?
I have scored on him, a couple times actually.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, he's a good goalie. He's very when he's on, he's probably one of the hardest goalies to score on.
He's very what's the word? Energetic. Yes. He's got a personality.
Oh, he's French.
He's French.
He's French. They have a lot of personality.
Riley Gillen asked, what was the best advice you got from one of your youth coaches that helped you prepare for the juniors and pro level? And did you have a favorite local coach?
Well, I only played for Carson.
You only played for Carson?
So that was probably, I really only ever played for Carson around here. Stan Tugaloa, I don't know how to say that name, I forgot.
Stan, Coach, yeah.
Coach Stan. He was one of my favorite skill development coaches. He definitely taught me a lot, and on the advice thing, I don't remember from that far back, honestly. I just push myself every day to try to get better, and I guess you could try to. That's pretty much it. Yeah.
I think one of the best pieces of advice that I got was from my dad, and I think the best way to say, or the nicest way to say it, was have fun and don't play bad. What would you say about that? Is that good advice?
I'd say, Michael, that's terrible advice. I thought you learned your best advice from me.
No.
No? Oh, okay.
Lark Horton asks, have you fought in the NHL, and how much of a beatdown did you give them?
Wow.
We're gonna have to
probably pull some tape on that.
We'll have to check the highlights on this
A
answer.
lot of my fights were
Fact
protecting my
checked.
teammates after they got hit hard, and they were usually against bigger guys. So I never really had a chance on a couple of them.
Yeah.
I fought probably 3 or 4 times now. And Matt Martin, Lucic was one of them, which was not much of a fight. I fought Ian Cole, that same thing. I think that's it. I don't know.
We got another question here. How many teeth are you likely to lose in your NHL career?
Well, the front row.
I lost
here's-
this one.
Yeah.
Oh,
These are
oh, fake.
No, these are all fake right here. These front two. Yeah, I chipped one. I don't know. I'll probably lose all of them at some point.
We got some more here. They're coming in hot right now.
Nice.
What was your favorite game that you played in?
Probably like game 3 was that game 3 was really fun. Just the atmosphere wise, and there's also one leading up to it that was probably one of my favorite games I played in a long time, and it was a Carolina game. And I scored with, I think it was like a minute 20 left to keep us really into playoff hunt. And they were a team that was battling with us, and it was really, really cool. That's another one of the pictures where I was yelling and screaming.
Hakuna Matata.
Big beard too. Big girly.
Ilya is one of my players. What's up, Ilya?
Yeah.
He's got a good question. What was your welcome to the NHL moment? I feel like those are either really positive or really negative.
Actually, so good question.
Good question, Ilya.
Welcome to the NHL moment. It probably wasn't until I scored my first goal, or maybe it was actually I got hemmed in my zone. I was playing for Anaheim against Logan Couture, Jumbo, and I think Pavelski. I think they were all in a line together at some point in time or something. I don't know what it was, but it was like rapid fire. Just like I couldn't. I was out of breath. I was second period. It was a long line change, and I think they wound up hemming us in for like 2 minutes, and my legs are like, I just couldn't even move off that.
This is a pretty good question, I think. We actually used one of these people, but Matt Hauk, I think that's how you say it.
Hi, Matt.
Do you utilize a mental coach or sports psychologist, and during the season, after the season, or both, or neither?
I've thought about
Other than
it.
your wife?
Yeah. I don't
She
think
didn't hear
answer
us.
that.
She
Thank
didn't
God
hear
she
us.
didn't hear it. Overall, no. I've been thinking about it for a couple of years now. We had one in Jersey that helped us out if we ever needed it, but I never found I really needed it. But I don't know. Actually, I never really thought about using one. Maybe I should consider it. Yeah, I need it.
DJ Whippy, that's a cool. What's up, DJ Whippy? He says, this isn't an irrelevant question, actually, DJ Whippy. It's a good question. How are you doing during quarantine? He says he's not doing so good. He's a bit more emotional than usual. And what's your advice to kind of
He said he's a
stay?
bit more emotional.
Yeah, he's a little bit more emotional. And how do you? What's your advice to kind of stay focused on getting better, even though you can't really do anything right now?
Yeah, it's hard. I have motivation at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night every day. And I'm ready to go, ready to work out, ready to feel good. And then you wake up in the morning and you're just groggy and you don't really want to do anything. And, I'm grateful to have a good backyard to where I can at least bring a Peloton out here or bring a bike and go bike riding. And, it's hard. It's hard right now. And, it's a situation that we just have to understand where the world is and kind of go from there. And really, it's time to focus on yourself more than it is anything, and kind of what you're going to do after, after this is over with. Myself, I know I'm kind of working on some business stuff to really focus on after hockey, because you never know how long that's going to last. It's kind of put things in perspective overall, and yeah. So.
Cool. Well, keep your head up, DJ Whippy.
Yeah, seriously.
We'll get through this.
We're all in it together.
Yeah. Carson Frisky asks again, what
Hi, Carson.
who talks the most and who's the funniest? You probably talk the most.
No, I don't.
No?
No, Vander Kane talks the most.
Evander Kane. Oh.
And Jumbo.
Okay. Jumbo.
Jumbo talks
Who's
the
the
most.
funniest?
Jumbo's pretty funny. We also have one of our coach. Our coach has a kid with Down syndrome, and he's always in the locker room. So he's very smart.
Oh, that's cool.
He's like I think he has Down syndrome and he has autism. He's very very smart. So like we kind of get him. We kind of have fun with him, and we kind of get him to do things and stuff. And it's really funny. He's hilarious actually.
That's awesome.
So we bring him along, and he's Jumbo. I think Jumbo is his favorite player all the time, and we kind of get him to say things to other players, and like it's fun. It's really funny coming from him, and it's always even though we weren't that good this year, he always brought a smile to our face in the locker room, so it was always fun.
I meant to ask this earlier. What was it like playing with Taylor Hall?
Halsey's a really good dude.
Really good, like player and just person.
Yeah, I love him as a person. He's probably one of my favorites. And he's kind of the same way. He expects things, similar to how Joe Thornton does. Maybe on a little bit lesser scale than Jumbo, but
yeah.
But he's he works so hard, and he wants to win, and he's so driven, and he's a great player, but even better person. That's what makes him how he is.
Awesome. Who would you this is a good one. May, I don't know who May is, but May asks, who would you most likely want to be quarantined with on the Sharks roster?
Ooh, that's not a bad question. That's a good question.
Anyone in particular?
No, not really. I mean, Jumbo will be fun because he always keep you entertained, so the entertainment value is there. Another one, Timo Meyer and I get along really well, so I wouldn't mind being with Timo. Trying to think of anybody else I could think of that I would really want to. I don't think I
No
got
one
it.
else?
I don't think I got it.
Jake Nicholson, another one of my players.
Hi, Jake.
What is the best moment you had in the NHL besides that goal? You can't say that again.
God, I don't know. Maybe it was clinching playoffs. Clinching playoffs, I was out there for the last 10 seconds. I either blocked a shot, got the puck down, or the puck came to me and I kind of flung it down, and we wound up making playoffs. So it was a good celebration. We felt really good during that time. We had a couple games left, and we were able to clinch it.
Awesome. K Foxy wants to know, do you need good grades to play in the NHL?
Yes.
Good answer. Yes,
For all you
do,
parents
K
out there
Foxy.
watching,
yes, you do.
You have to get straight A's. If there's any B's on that report card, you're not allowed to. Coming from a straight A student.
Who do you... yeah, that's me. I'm the straight A
He's
student.
a straight A student.
All right, well, we'll keep going. We have a few more. We got a couple here. Andrew, one of our 07s.
Hi, Andrew.
What was the most difficult thing for you as you made your way into the NHL? That's a good question. Besides playing against me, I probably taught you a lot of what you would have to deal with.
Probably figuring out what my role was, because your role changes every day, every game. If you're not having a good game, you gotta keep it simple, and figure out ways to kind of micromanage each situation, each game, and go shift by shift. And for me, playing juniors, never really had to think about that. You just kind of thought like, oh, I'm gonna get my points, I'm gonna go do this, and the game is gonna be what it is. But for me, I don't like getting scored on now. Back then, I used to hate getting. I used to not mind it, but now I hate it because it just it makes you look bad. You feel like you let your teammates down, and it's probably my least, or probably the thing that makes me the most mad overall is getting scored on.
Awesome. All right, and then we'll just wrap this up. We got a question from Liam, another 07 with the Tigers. I have to ask this because it was pretty cool for me too, but you had a tryout at the beginning of the season with the Stars, and just, were you a fan of the Stars growing up? And then I know it didn't work out long term, but even for that short amount of time, like, what was that experience like, just being from here?
Referring to me getting cut?
I didn't want to say it. But,
no, it was a fun experience. Chance to put on the Stars uniform and play on the home side. I played 3 or 4 games for the Stars during that time, and I had a great time for them. I grew up kind of obviously being from this area around here, going to games. Every time I came back into town for Christmas when I played junior hockey, we always come to the New Year's Eve game whenever I could, and it was a situation where we thought it was a good fit for me to come out and at least try out to try and make the team. And obviously the situation kind of was what it was, and there wasn't any extra room on there. And thought I had a pretty good camp overall, but it's just kind of the way it goes sometimes. And after that, I just battled my way to try to get back into the NHL, and I was able to. But being able to throw on that Stars jersey, kid from here, playing in a non-hockey market, which I would consider this now a hockey market now. It's pretty big now. Mm-hmm. But being from here it was probably one of the more cool experiences I've had, and maybe one day I'll be able to come back and play here. And my wife and I are building a house here now, so hopefully be able to do it one day and go from there.
Awesome. I guess, does Brent Burns have some exotic animals?
Yeah.
Like the Tiger King? Does he still have those animals?
I don't think he has tigers. I don't know what he has on that ranch down there, but he's got something. But he does raise exotics and stuff like that, and deer and all that.
All right. Well, final question to a bunch of kids that are watching this, and from a guy that has grown up here and played here and has made all of these kids' dreams a reality. What would you kind of just say to them as advice, or just one thing that they could focus on, not just in this quarantine, but after, and when they get back into things, what or groove of things, what would you say to them?
Work hard. Don't take every day for granted, and the more you work, the better off you see results at the end of it. And getting up every day to keep doing it sometimes is difficult, but you got to think the long run, and the bigger picture of everything. And it's difficult. There's nothing easy about playing in the NHL. There's some people have it easy or easier than others, and some people work hard to get there. And once you get there, it's even harder to stay. So work hard. Don't quit. And
Play for Coach Hesse.
Yeah, and listen to what he says, because he knows everything and he gets it from me. So.
Alrighty. Well, thank you so much, Stefan. I know this was kind of taking time out of your day, but I think a lot of kids are watching this and are going to appreciate you answering their questions. And thank you guys for tuning in. Texas Tigers, if you're watching, all of you hockey players, if you're not a part of the Tigers but a part of the community, thanks for watching, and appreciate your time, Stefan. And hopefully we can do this again soon. Hopefully we're out of this situation soon, but keep working hard, guys. Keep asking questions, and do whatever you can at home to get through this, and then we'll keep going. So, you got anything else?
Work hard.
All right, guys. Well, take it easy, have fun, and this was fun. Hopefully we can do this again soon. All right, I guess we're